What's going on, guys? It is Christopher here, back in the building with a very interesting episode because I don't know if you guys saw my week 20 Premier League predictions. However, the fact of the matter is, I mentioned the fact that someone had lost their job, and the man that happened to lose their job is none other than former Chelsea player Frank Lampard. So, pretty much after a tumultuous 80, well, just short of 18 months, Lampard is out of work once again. Um, Surprised but not surprised is the best way I want to describe it, because even though I'm a Man United fan, I'm going to try and take an absolute neutral perspective as to the reasons why, where it kind of went wrong for Chelsea, and kind of where do they go from here, really, because we all know that there's been rumours circling in the last few weeks about, oh, is Lampard going to lose his job because of the fact that Chelsea were in quite a heavy slump themselves. But at the same time, we've seen it with United earlier this season, the fact that there were talks of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer losing his job, so Ole no longer at the wheel, all those kind of jokes and chants around. But we're top of the league now, so arguably he kind of rode the wave of pressure, it's fair to say, and he's still in his job and leading the league by 2 points. And I wouldn't say it's comfortable, but the fact is we're still leading the league as United fans. We're happy. We're starting to believe again that we could potentially win league title number 21, but we only have to wait and see for the season to pass. However, Chelsea, it kind of just feels like they've gone back to their old ways of hiring and firing. The fact that Lampard has not brought them instant success, even though they did reach an FA Cup final last season and only to lose to Arsenal 2-1. However, following their fourth round FA Cup win against Luton Town, of all teams, and yes, I did say Luton Town, but it wasn't good enough for Roman Abramovich, even though he came out and said he'd thank Frank for his services for the club, but it's time to move on. But it just feels like new manager, same old, really. But let's delve into the possibilities of where it went wrong for Chelsea and Frank Lampard. So I'm going to try and be fair and neutral and as unbiased as I possibly can be. However, that will not be guaranteed in this video. But there are three areas where I think Chelsea could have gone wrong. And I'm going to start off with pointing the finger, well, trying not to actively point the finger at the players, because the fact that Chelsea have signed the likes of Werner, Havertz, and other players, just to name a few, these were the players that were arguably world class when they were in the Bundesliga. Because don't forget, the likes of Havertz is 21. I think Werner, is he 22, 23? I'm not too sure. But they were the players that were designed to take Chelsea from a young pretender team, because they finished fourth last season, to a next level top contender who would be competing with the likes of your Liverpools, your Cities. You could argue United if you wanted to, but bear in mind, coming from a United fan, I'm kind of trying not to be smug about the fact that we're top of the league at this very moment in time, even though we've still got 19 games to go for the rest of the season, and possibly a lot more given on the FA Cup, Europa League, Champions League, or for clubs that are in the Champions League for that matter. But the fact of the matter is that these players are world class, and they shouldn't, in my eyes, really be using the excuse of adapting to the Premier League as a way of trying to cover up their poor performances, because at the same time there's a reason why they are signed for a particular club or they are signed by a manager. However, the fact of the matter is that these players haven't made the desired impact, and they're probably not even good enough to make the starting 11 or even sit on that Chelsea bench for that matter. So you could argue, even though, as I mentioned, that they're trying to cover up their inadequacies, but it's simply not good enough, full stop. And at the same time, defensively, Chelsea have been a shambles, because 7 clean sheets all season in the Premier League, even though Mendy, who was purchased for 22 million from Rennes, has kept all 7 of those clean sheets in the Premier League. The fact of the matter is that in recent weeks, he hasn't kept that many clean sheets. I think it was 2 in the last 5 games. And bear in mind, if there are Chelsea fans that are commenting, then please feel free to kind of correct my stats, because at the same time, I'm only human, and at the same time, I'm kind of like willing to learn about the statistics and the actual facts and the proper reasoning, or what's actually going on behind the scenes at Chelsea Football Club. But at the same time, defensively, Chelsea are just a mess at the minute. So defence wins your titles, and I'm afraid until they've got that defence sorted out, it's arguably, in my eyes, among the mid-table. And if I was being harsh on this Chelsea team, you could stake it as possibly one of the worst in the league. Seconds up, I'm going to go from bottom to top here. And does Lampard have to take a bit of blame for this? Well, arguably, yes, because if you're spending, well, to be exact, on the 7 players that he got over the 2020-2021 transfer window, which is £225.8 million on 7 players across that transfer window, you could argue that they should really be contending for a Premier League title almost immediately following last year, where they got a very respectable 4th. And to many, you could argue, and I think they overachieved, the fact that they got 4th, given that they couldn't buy anyone. Lampard could only rely on his youth players and his youth squad. The fact that you had the likes of Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Reece James, they all pretty much came through for that Chelsea team last season. And to kind of get into this position where they, as I mentioned, they were meant to be top contenders, not young pretenders, it feels as if that Chelsea have just seemed to have gone that step backwards all of a sudden, which seems to be very unlike Chelsea, because after their transfers, usually they normally take that one step forward when they come in. Because I remember back in the 2016-2017 season when Conte came in, he made a couple of transfers and pretty much got Chelsea a league title straight away. Likewise with Mourinho. Well, Mourinho, like in his first spell, first 2 seasons, 2 titles. Like, what more can you want? And to be honest with you, same case goes with Lampard. Really, you got to arguably expect the titles to be coming Chelsea's way, and the fact that he hasn't performed, and the fact that Chelsea are arguably struggling to make the top 4 in a minute, that could be a sign of bad things to come, or a storm that was potentially brewing at Chelsea that kind of ultimately led to his sacking at the end of the day. And I will say this right now, but defensively, he needs to be the one that sorts that defence out, because the defence, yes, they can have a couple of off days here and there, but the fact that you had 6 errors leading to goals kind of like suggests to me that surely Lampard should change it up at the back. But it seems as if that Frank's not taking any notes, not paying any attention. At the same time, feel free to kind of hate on me, but at the same time, it's kind of as if he's not taking any notice on the defensive side of things. So you could argue that the lack of defence at the back is Lampard's downfall, and that's why he's got the sack. Finally, I'm going to mention Abramovich, and people will kind of be surprised the fact that I'm throwing his name into the conversation. However, I kind of want to make it clear that he is ultimately responsible for who is the manager at Chelsea, because we all know that Chelsea have had a history of hiring then firing, or here and now, however you want to put it. But the fact of the matter is that could Frank Lampard have been given a bit more time? Maybe, but I was talking to a friend earlier, but since Abramovich took over Chelsea in June 2003, essentially Chelsea have been through 12 permanent managers, and I'll list them in order right now. So Ranieri was the first one. I know that he was only 1 season under Abramovich in 2003-2004, but he failed to bring any instant success to Chelsea following Abramovich's takeover, so he was out. Mourinho, we all know that in his first 2 seasons at the club, he won them 2 Premier Leagues, and he also won them the 2007 FA Cup and the 2007 League Cup, so essentially a domestic cup double, but was out at the early stages of 2008. Avram Grant took them to a Champions League final, but pretty much he was shown the door as soon as he couldn't win them the trophy, which was in Moscow, by the way. So it was meant to be like the fairy tale for Roman, which never happened. Then Felipe Scolari came in and was shown the door midway through the 2008-2009 season. Even though Wilkins took over, I'm not counting that. Then Hiddink came in, but obviously only stayed till the end of the season. Ancelotti bought them the 2009-2010 domestic double, but then was shown the door a year later. Andre Villas-Boas followed in next, only to get fired midway through the 2011-2012 season. Di Matteo bought them the Champions League, but at the same time, Roman's loyalty has very small boundaries, it's fair to say, and Di Matteo was gone just a couple of months later. Benitez was until the end of the 2013 season. Jose came back and got them a Premier League, and oh wait, he was shown the door once again. Steve Holland only took them for one game. Hiddink came back once again until the end of the 2015-2016 season. Conte, as I mentioned, got them a Premier League and an FA Cup, but then was shown the door after they won the FA Cup against United, by the way, even though Hazard's penalty was different. And yes, I'm still hurting about that final to this very day. And then Sarri, as I mentioned, was a very controversial figure at Stamford Bridge, but despite bringing them a Europa League, he didn't appease the fans with his style of play, and he was shown the door after just one season. And then Frank didn't win anything, but at the same time still had a lot to prove, I felt, at Chelsea. But arguably, there's a similar theme, there's a similar trend that's happening across all these managers' hiring and firings. Like, pretty much, bar Mourinho in his first spell, where he lasted just over 3 seasons, Abramovich is like very, very ruthless, and arguably, could he have given Lampard a bit more time? I think he should have, and maybe until the end of the season to make a clear-cut decision. But time in football management these days seems to be very, very short-handed, as we've seen in the case of Chelsea. But will it change? That I genuinely do not think so. But there are questions that need to be made of Abramovich in a way, because did he make a snap decision way too easily? You guys let me know in the comments. But on that note, guys, that is the end of this video. And like I mentioned in the last few videos or so, but just check in on your family and friends from time to time, because we're still in national lockdown. Just keep on making calls, making texts, just reaching out to them. But if you guys want to check out my Week 20 Premier League predictions, then the video is right here. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel right here. And until next time, guys, peace out.